All right, hello everybody. Uh, Welcome to another Friday session of the Hot Topics Volunteer Leadership Series. I'm Salva Pleviyama, your Disaster Workforce Engagement Manager, and today we are talking about how to support the busy volunteer. How we are constantly improving our programs, want to do so much work out on the mission, and we can't accomplish that without our volunteers. But volunteers, by their very nature, still have lives outside of the Red Cross. They are still juggling family, work, other commitments, other organizations they may be involved with, and the work is not getting lighter. Everywhere, not just Red Cross, but all organizations are constantly trying to do more and more, which means that we're competing with priorities and competing with time with our volunteers. So we need to have a mindset of how we're able to be flexible and support them. And Chad Lazard, the Community Disaster Program Manager out in Acadiana, has proven effective track record of doing that. I know we'll get to your space in just a little bit. There'll be a few regional updates that I want to give. But Chad, do you want to introduce yourself now?
No, you're good. You can go ahead.
All right, excellent. So, just to get us started off, I want to give a shout out to some of our volunteer leaders that have really been showcasing why it's so important to be leaders yourselves and the efficiency of being volunteers that also supervise and lead other volunteers. I'm giving a shout out to Wesley Brownlee, Sharon Joy, and Judith Weir. The FIFA games are coming to the America. We have several cities that are hosting games this year, which is kind of unprecedented. That means that we're tracking a lot of people into very consolidated areas, not just Americans, but also there are so many people internationally that come to visit and watch these games. With that incredible increase of people, if a disaster strikes, whether it be man-made or natural, that can put a lot of people at risk. So we, as the American branch of the Red Cross, want and do our part at ensuring the community is covered and protected. So we are having every single region across our division put together on-call strike teams that if a disaster strikes, we can call those volunteers, send them out for a 2-week deployment, and help where it is needed most. Knock on wood, hopefully it's not needed, but we want to make sure it's there when it is. And when that call came through, Wesley immediately put out a all call a an availability survey. Judith and Sharon, both Louisiana serve team leaders, contacted their teams and said, "Hey, did you see the message? Can you go and sign up? Are you available?" And we got together a full list of teams on rotation from now all the way through mid-July to cover the FIFA games. And we were the second region in all of Swarm to submit our roster. That is a huge, incredible accomplishment and really showcases the call to action, the power of volunteer leadership. So, uh, Sharon, Wesley, Judith, if you're on call today, we just saw you last week talk about this and onboarding shelter volunteers, but now we see it in action. So thank you so much to the three of you. Looking at the pulse of what's happening in our workforce, uh, I see that looking from last week over to this week, our leaders have cleaned up a little bit of our rosters. The volunteers that haven't done anything for over a year have been end dated. Rosters have been cleaned up a little bit. So while we do see a dip of the total number of volunteers, we're seeing an increase of number of engaged volunteers. It went from 70% to 73% of our volunteers uh, um, joining being engaged and touching the mission in some way, shape, or form. Before this call, we were actually just talking about Acadiana was doing a shelter simulation out in their area. So again, getting a chance to see the mission in action. And as we are in the very last month of our fiscal year, calculating like the impact that our work has done to the mission, we have leaders go backdating and scrambling to enter all of the hours, all of the work that our volunteers have done. So there is a drastic increase of our hours goal. We went from 87% last week to 93%, a 6% increase of our hours goal. And I also want to give a huge shout out for our disaster team. we had a annual goal to get 58,500 hours, and we are now at 58,380. So yeah, pretty much one event, 1 week. This time next week, I assure you, we will have hit our hours goal before the close of the year. This is before you even calculate the DRO hours, the deployment hours that all of our volunteers have been doing, going out across the states and helping on disaster operations where it's needed most. As far as readiness goes, we do kind of have a static, as this month we're focused on closing out. You're probably not going to see too much of a change in operational readiness, but the focus is on onboarding, bringing on our disaster action teams, and connecting with partners and setting up for the next fiscal year. We still have instructor training that I'll be going out to next week in Shreveport and getting some more instructors to help build capacity. And then we have a partner meeting at the end of the month with the Episcopal Church. All right, so that is it for our regional updates and just keeping you in the know. Chad Lazard, I want to give attention full to you. Would you mind introducing yourself, how you got in the Red Cross, and what do you want to say about supporting busy volunteers?
Oh, good. Thank you so much, Sava. So of course, my name is Chad Lazard Edmond. I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana, but I reside in the Acadiana region. When I say I reside, I feel as though I have made a home everywhere I go in this region. So I call home all 7 parishes. But I am the community disaster specialist here in Acadiana, and I work with volunteers all the time. So when Saba asked me to talk about the supporting the busy volunteer, I actually laughed a little bit because I thought, who isn't busy these days? But if we're being honest, most of us on this call are probably balancing multiple things ourselves, right? So we're working, we're volunteering, we're supporting our families, we're involved in our communities, and somehow we're still trying to find the time to do all things we're passionate about, all right? So today, I don't necessarily want to talk about volunteers as if they're different from us. I want to think about ourselves for a moment. How many of us ever had to say, I really want to do this, but I just don't have the time for it? And of course, I know I said it all the time. I said it a couple times. I think I said it last week. And that's why I think this conversation is important, right? Because when a volunteer tells us they're busy, it doesn't automatically mean that they're disengaged. It doesn't mean that they don't care. It doesn't mean that they're leaving the organization. Many times it simply means life is happening. And I don't know if you ever heard the term life is life, and life happens to all of us. So as volunteer leaders, I think one of our greatest opportunities is figuring out how we can keep people connected to the mission during those busy seasons of life. Because some of our best volunteers aren't always our most available volunteers, okay? They're the student trying to finish the degree. They're the parent juggling work and kids. They're the person working overtime every week. They're the caregiver helping a loved one. And often those same people are the ones who become some of our strongest volunteers and leaders when life settles down a bit. So today, I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about how we can keep those volunteers connected, engaged, and feeling like they still belong, even when they can't give us as much time as they may want to. So I will be dropping a question in the chat, and I would love for everybody to drop one word in the chat. And the question is, what's the most common reason volunteers give when they stop participating? So drop one word in the chat. Everyone, they got 11 people on this call, so I should see 10 response. I'm gonna pull an ad. I should see 10 responses on here. What's the most common reason volunteers give when they stop participating? Money problems, yeah. Other responsibilities, not enough time. That's pretty much all my responsibilities right then and there. Burnout, too busy with work, yep. Competing priority, yes. Health issues, absolutely. I can't take care of myself. How can I take care of other people? Absolutely. Family problems, yes, Claudia. They are all the real barriers that we are all dealing with in our lives. Okay, so the one thing I've learned working with volunteers across Acadiana is that our volunteers are busy people. They're working full-time jobs, they're raising children, they're caring for family members, they're active in churches and community organizations. Many of them are already serving in multiple ways before they even put on a Red Cross vest. So when life gets busy, volunteering is often one of the first things that they feel like they need to put on hold, right? So here's the thing: most volunteers don't stop caring about the mission, right? Most volunteers don't leave because they suddenly don't believe in what we do. Many times they simply don't know how to stay involved at a level that fits their current life. So, moving on to my next point, engagement is not a all or nothing. I think one of the biggest mindsets we tend to have is to make the understanding that engagement isn't all or nothing. Sometimes we unintentionally create two categories: active volunteers or inactive volunteers. So, right? So it's either or. But there's a huge space in the middle. Someone who attends one lunch and learn, someone who joins one team's meeting, someone who helps with one sound alarm, someone who works with one preparedness event. That volunteer is still engaged, yet they're still connected to our mission. And I think we sometimes underestimate how important those smaller touch points really are. A volunteer giving 1 hour consistently is often more valuable than losing them completely. So, going to our next question: what is the one opportunity or one volunteer opportunity in your region or in your area that you believe that a volunteer could complete in 1 hour or less? So, what is one volunteer opportunity in your region that someone could complete in 1 hour or less? We got different things that people do in an hour. Maybe you don't have nothing. Training credits, yeah, absolutely. I knew Sab was going to say, "Hey, I got something." What else? I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe y'all don't have preparing this inventory or call downs. Great, yes, CW is allowing us to open up, calling new volunteers. Yes, yes, absolutely. A phone call means a lot, and especially from volunteers who are already volunteers, connecting with other volunteers. Great. Community outreach, all of those things matter. So this brings me to the idea of micro volunteering. Okay. So micro volunteering is exactly what it sounds like, creating smaller opportunities that allow people to stay connected. So not every volunteer can deploy. Not every volunteer can commit to weekly meetings. Not every volunteer can spend the entire Saturday volunteering, but many people can give 1 hour, one event, one conversation, one shift, one skill, one of something. And that's where we have the opportunity as leaders. How do we create more opportunities for people to serve in smaller ways? And just like what we talked, creating those opportunities. Me and Jenny was talking one time. She was like, "Why do you do all your call downs?" I was like, "Absolutely not. That's too many volunteers for me to get in contact with. We have other people that does it, but allowing those people to have those connections with other volunteers, that's how you spread your network." So I personally seen volunteers step away because of work or family responsibilities, and then come back months later, ready to jump in like nothing ever happened. If we had written them off as an active, and we told them, no, we're we can't utilize you, so we can't help you. However, we may have lost them. Instead, they stayed connected because somebody kept reaching out. We kept reaching out to them. Somebody remembered them. Somebody made them feel like they belonged, and they came back. So, of course, one of my favorite terms I utilize in Acadiana: keep them warm. One phrase I've heard before is to keep it warm. Keep them warm. Just because a volunteer can't serve today doesn't mean they won't serve tomorrow. Our job is to keep the relationship alive. That means sending a text, making a phone call, inviting them to a lunch and learn, sharing a success story with them, or even their success story, recognizing their contributions not only to the Red Cross but also to their own communities. We're community mobilizationers. We are wanting to make sure that we're hitting those hot topics. And one of the key things that Kelly, my volunteer partner, said last week is, why can't we recognize the community leaders that's doing for their communities? And I said, absolutely. People stay connected when they feel remembered. All right. So before we wrap up, I'd like to hear from y'all one more time. All right. So the one last question is, what's one thing you can do in the next month to make volunteering more accessible for someone with limited time? So, what's one thing you can do in the next month to make volunteering more accessible for someone with limited time? I give it a couple. I know y'all thinking and understanding. Project board, that's a good one. Awesome. Yeah. What else? Give me some more ideas. We're brainstorming here. Create projects with small ideas. Yes. Attend a course. Yeah. And and I was like, I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. Pieces. Absolutely. Yes. Creating projects. I think one of the biggest things for me, especially with Project 70501, if you haven't heard about it, is our new project that we're working here in the Acadiana area, and we created this project. We know that creating a project for a priority zip code could mean so much: preparedness, being visible, recruitment, all of these other things. But one of the major things is that we created a project and we broke it down into pieces, and we're fitting all of those volunteers, the volunteers who have the background in healthcare, putting them into the pieces. It's all a big puzzle. I mean, some people like to, spend their time with Legos. I like to spend my time with projects. Re- Record your meeting and send it to them. Catch a pre-identified project task. We know things are happening. Why don't we just tell them? Oh, flexibility in DAT schedules. Absolutely. I know James did. James and the DAT team did an amazing job with understanding that, hey, volunteers don't always have that time. Let's change it around. Let's make it adaptable. And determining the underlying motivation of volunteer work to identify academic project that can work. Yes, Stephen, yes, it's making sure it's aligning them with the project that you have that you're already going to do. We're already doing projects every single day. We're doing the work every single day, but understanding how volunteers, I think keeping that forward, how can volunteers come connected with this? Give people more time to work on a project, staying organized. That's right. And staying organized, so if you know you have a project coming up for a summer project, why are you going to start in April? Why are you going to start in May? It doesn't make sense. You want to give more people more time, especially with the volunteers. You want to give them more time to be flexible, to be adaptable. If you're able to put a schedule on their thing 2 months in advance, I promise you have more people there than you do on tomorrow afternoon with no notice. So good job, everybody. So of course, I'll leave you with this. Our goal isn't to make every volunteer do everything. Our goal is to help every volunteer find something that they can do. When we stop focusing solely on availability and start focusing on connection, we build a stronger volunteer workforce, because engagement isn't all or nothing. Sometimes it's 1 hour, sometimes it's one event, sometimes it's one conversation, and sometimes that's enough to keep someone connected to the mission until they're ready for more. So, of course, thank y'all all so much for everything that y'all have done, and everything that y'all are doing in the field. And I absolutely am amazed in all of everything that y'all are doing every day. So, thank y'all so much. And I am here if y'all have any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for such an engaging conversation, Chad. Usually at this time, we would like to close out with some action items, an encouragement of like what our leaders can do themselves. But that was kind of your entire conversation, is like brainstorming, what can we do? So I think I have my final question is to you. After hearing all this engaging conversation, the ideas in the chat box, what is your main takeaway, Chad? What is the main plea that you would encourage all of our volunteer leaders, leaders of volunteers that are on this call with us? What would you encourage them to do this today, this weekend, early next week?
Be organized, be adaptable, and be mindful.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chad. Uh, Please be sure to join us next week, same time, same place, Friday, 2 p.m., where we are going to be joined by Steven Dominguez, who happens to be in the audience right now, who will be talking about recognition more than just a pin. How do we show the value of all the work that our volunteers are doing and let them know that their work is seen? I'm Sava Plivyama, your disaster workforce engagement manager. Wishing you a great weekend. Oh, and as always, please do be sure to give shout outs. Send me a nomination of a volunteer leader that you think is doing amazing work, and I'll be happy to showcase them on the Hot Topics session. Again, Sava Plivyama, your disaster workforce engagement manager. Hoping you have a great weekend. Take care, y'all.